Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Night Show in our Europa League slot this week on Boro Fan TV. Thanks for joining us. We're going to look back on the games against Barnsley and Cardiff, which have seen Boro extend their winning run to 3 games and take 9 points from 9. What's brought this change about in fortunes for you Boro fans? Let us know tonight on the show. Joining me to do so are Tony Guest and David Campbell and Jacob Waters. Welcome aboard, boys.
Evening. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, all.
I know it's a strange one. This Tony. As always, Boro fans, if you're watching out there, get yourselves involved in this week's show and join the debate as we chat about Boro's fortunes. So, David, I'll bring you in first, mate. We're going back to the Barnsley game last Wednesday night. When we previewed the game on last week's show, we discussed the possibility of maybe Neil Warnock making 1 or 2 changes. He made 2 in the end, Peltier and Jones coming in. Did that surprise you? And did the formation he went with surprise you as well?
Yeah, both surprised me, really. Obviously, I was saying on the show how much I don't think you should change a winning team. And he went to a flat back 4, which was a surprise. I think some of it was enforced because he mentioned about Hernandez, so I understood that one for Jones. And yeah, it was a nice, clear indication of that we can play different styles and different formations. And I thought we played really well. We caught with it, actually. I know there was a few minor setbacks where they could have scored early doors, but I thought we were looking quite comfortable with the 4 at the back. And it just set us on to go on this little run that we're through at the moment.
Yeah. And Tony, as David alluded to there was a crowd of just over 17,000 in the Riverside last week, but there was 1 or 2 sticky moments at the beginning of the game, wasn't there?
They started what are the second bottom? They look nowhere near a bottom 3 team the way they started. And if it wasn't for a bit of good fortune, especially with the one where the kid ended up 1-on-1 after Bamba slipped, went 1-on-1 and hit the post. For them first 5-10 minutes, they were just totally overrunning us. But I think Warnock made a little tweak. I don't know whether I couldn't see it from where I was sat in the south stand low down, but it looked like they pushed Jones further on and went to a back 3. And after that, it just totally changed. And it was just, like you say, it was just another one of them games where you're waiting to get caught with a sucker punch, aren't you? You know, like after the win on the Saturday, which wasn't the most convincing, but like you say, you expect to beat Barnsley at home. And in the end, we got a late goal and it looked comfortable. You know what I mean? And for me, we muddled our way through that game, James. But like you say, you shouldn't grumble at 3 points. Do you know what I mean? So lots and lots of missed chances again, and it's getting really. It's really. I know it's only early, but it's really starting to piss me off. Our shooting and our finishing is absolutely diabolical. You know what I mean?
We'll get on to
absolutely.
We're creating chances now, though. At least, like early on in the season, we were struggling to create chances. I know it is annoying that we're missing them, but it's refreshing to see us making them, I'd say.
I was just going to ask you, Jacob, welcome aboard again, mate. Boro grew into the game last Wednesday night against Barnsley. We took the lead through Andres Sporra's first Riverside goal. But as an attacking unit, bearing in mind what Tony said and David's mentioned there, what did you make of the display last Wednesday night?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought that the chance creation's fantastic. It has been over the last 3 games. If you look, the average is 20 shots, which is kind of unheard of, especially for Middlesbrough. So attacking wise, I loved it. I thought I'm on the Piero bus as well, but I do still think that he does leave gaps in behind him, but he's going to be getting to grips with things. And I don't need to decapitate him for saying this, because I know most of them are like, Piero is we've heard the song, haven't we? But for me, I just think we need to be a little bit wary in behind him sometimes. But obviously, you can see his class. But as an attacking unit, you can't fault them. But like Guesty said, I mean, Watmore he could have had a couple of go brace easily. Yeah. We need to start putting these chances away. But as Dave said as well, we're creating them. And I think now we look such a threat. With Hernandez can play there, Jones can play, Tav can get down that wing, chance creation's picking up. The promotion bus it's running now.
Steady on, mate. Steady on. Long way to go yet, Jacob. Long way to go.
with that forward line.
I'm not getting dragged along with this promotion carry on. I think back in the real world, I think Warnock's. We only had how many subs you're allowed. We didn't have the full quarter of subs on the bench for the Saturday game. I don't know whether we did for the Barnsley game, and it's similar to when Pulis was here, where we fell into a position where we were winning games when the squad wasn't as fit or as big, and I think Warnock's just stumbled into a back three, a back four, or back five, whatever it is, to keep our goal safe. I think Bamber, Warnock's already admitted, and Peltier, he's already admitted, he wasn't expecting them to play for us. You know what I mean? I think they were just here as squad players. But with Bamber at the back, I think that's given us the confidence to go forward and start creating these chances, because he's been absolutely immense. He's no nonsense. He reads the game. Yeah. He gets it. He doesn't mess about with it. And you know what I mean? When you've got someone like that at the back, the confidence just grew. Even Joe Lumley, I might even say something nice about him. Even he's looking a bit more confident at the moment. And
steady on, Tony. Don't break a bit of a lifetime here, mate.
But like you said, Jacob, like you said, we were decent attacking against Barnsley, but I still think we just mumbled our way through that game.
Okay. I agree that we've stumbled across the formation, and it has left us questions. I think we look a lot better side with Housen not in the centre midfield. I think Leggy is centre midfielder, so it shows we've got a bit of legs in there. But when we're talking about consistency, which Jacob was just mentioning there about our strike force, I agree. But we've now got options offensively, and I think we need to. I know we've got options, and they're good options to have, but if we want to turn that consistency by scoring goals, we need to stick with offensive formation and the same personnel. Dropping Uche for Watmore and change that week in, week out, it isn't going to work. If you want to start scoring goals on a consistent basis, you need the front line to play together with a lot more.
Jacob, can I bring you back in, pal? Absolutely. One of the things I was going to bring up next, and Slayer's also mentioned it here, I think one player this season that's provoked more debate than anybody in the Boro teams, Marcus Tavernier. Now, Slayer's got in touch here and he said Tav needs to get dropped. Now, I'm a big fan of Tav. I like Tav. What have you made of his start of the season?
First of all, I understand why he'd say that. I get it.
Yeah, me too. I get it.
His end product at times very frustrating. But my argument with Tav is he brings in an energy and a positivity and gets you in areas of the pitch that other people wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, he hasn't done great this season in terms of his end product, but I still think that he has that little bit of panache that you need. And operating as he's been on the right mid recently, hasn't he? And a wing back. I think he's put a decent shift in. People get knocked off because he's looked greedy, but some of the things he's done whilst being greedy are pretty, he's cut inside, ripped a defender in two. And I don't think you can ignore that side of him. He's been asked to play a little bit out of context to his normal position, which would be more central, which he's been used to. So overall, I'd say, end product, completely agree, but stick with him because there's that energy that he brings to the team and he gets you in areas of the pitch and he beats players that I think other people wouldn't. And I also think as well, he is an intelligent footy player for me. Some of his passing's intelligent. I'd say he's more of an intelligent player, for example, than Hernandez. Sometimes for me, he doesn't get his head up in certain areas. And I know people are going to be like, well, why hasn't Tav pulled a couple back, which he could have? But I still think for me, overall, as a football player, there's more to come from him. He is young, don't forget, still. And I think he offers us a lot. And we should remember that.
Take him out the team, and I think you see a different Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Totally agree. Everything Jacob said there, his work rate, even he's looking after Piero. He's putting his arm around players in the starting 11 now. Like you say, his finishing needs sorting, and obviously some of the free kicks and corners he takes, the delivery is really poor. But I can live with that for what else he brings to our starting 11. For me, he's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
and we know he can hit him. We've seen him. He's got a shot on him. But recently he's been way off the. But we know he can. He loves to cut inside and hit that bottom bag, and he's done it a few times before. So it's not like he's never scored a goal. I just think we just stick with him.
Yeah,
just got to keep his boots on at the moment, and you know what I mean. He just puts the back of the ball out and hopes for the best.
Yeah. Sometimes he tries a little bit too hard, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It shows that he's wanting to do something. As Jacob said there, I think he's got a little bit of X factor in our team. He brings something a little bit different that we don't have, and I'm all for him trying those sort of things. And we know it can be really frustrating at times, but I think you've just got to take that. That's part of the package we have. Yeah. Robbie from Birmingham City FC's got in touch with us there. Good luck for Saturday. Looking forward to the game. We'll preview that later on, Robbie, mate. Back to the Barnsley match, though, Tony. Mentioned there about the failure to take chances. And another player who stood out on the night, and his work ethic can never be brought into dispute, but his miss, one of the worst I think we've ever seen at the Riverside, was Duncan Watmore. What were your feelings when that went over in front of you, Tony?
It was right in front of me. Couldn't believe it. Absolutely couldn't believe it. I was up. You know what I mean? I was already celebrating, and I had to look twice to make sure that he had missed it. It was, to this, I still can't explain how he missed it. I don't know if he'd have let it just hit his left foot, it'd have went in. But it's one of them things we all miss. You know what I mean? But missing in the middle of the goal, with the goalkeeper nowhere in sight, and managing to put it into the back row of the south stand from that type of distance. But we've all been there. But you can't knock his commitment. His legs, the running he does, and he laid there for a bit, and he must have felt a right get, and he got up and then started to chase the Barnsley defender with the ball, but. That was a bad one, Duncan, mate. Really bad.
I had to laugh. There was someone in the West Stand saying, he hasn't got a left foot. So I had to remind him of the goal that he scored against Sheffield United with his left foot in the top corner.
Yeah. Just one of them things. Obviously, the TAV debate's raging on, and we had, as you've seen there by some of the comments that have come up on the screen, you've had some people there saying, he's had a poor start the season, and you've always got Stephen Chunky Walker getting in touch again. Steve, thanks. Tav always graphs. He is frustrating, but he's a manager's dream just for his work rate alone. And I think, Tav will divide opinion. That's just one of the things, as everybody does on a football pitch. Jacob, one of the players that's really come to the fore for us, I think, in the last couple of games, has been Matt Crooks. And it appears not just in terms of his performance, but his personality. He seems to be moulding that team a little bit now, and he's playing a big part in some of the things that are going on that pitch, isn't he?
Well, as a centre mid myself, he's an absolute dream, that guy, I just can't speak highly enough of him. I actually think he's done better in this new fluid 4-4-2. When he's played a little bit deeper, I think he affects the game a bit more. He's got such a calmness on the ball with him. And when he's tracking back and tackling, them long legs, he doesn't, there's not many people who get past him. I really think he's been fantastic. He's made us tick pretty much. I know he had that boohoo against Barnsley at one point. I can't remember what he did, but he lost the ball in a bit of a naughty position. Yeah. But apart from that, I just think I don't dislike him as a 10, but I'd rather him in this position. I think he's come to life more. Yeah. I think he's a mentor for Piero. We've all seen that picture where he's grabbing Piero and they're looking at each other, not a clue what each other's saying because they don't speak the same language, but they love each other, and I think he must be communicating at some sort of level because he's meant to be a mentor to him. And I just think he's been one quality signing. He's banged 3 goals in. He's been asked to play different positions. He's got a real cool, calm collectedness on the ball. I can't speak highly enough. Yeah, no,
good man. Patrick Wheatley's pretty much echoing what you're saying there, Jake. We said Crooks has been a bargain buy this season, unbelievable player for us. And again, Steve Walker back in touch saying that he said to you, Tony, at the start of the season that he was a great signing.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
His last season when he was at Rotherham. And he's doing really well so far, and long may that continue. And David, before we leave the Barnsley game, I mean, that win alone took us up to 10th spot. And at the time, just 3 points off the playoffs. But it just shows, only a matter of weeks ago, we were at Hull, coming back from there, a bit despondent. And there was a lot of people claiming that the manager's time was up, things like that. Obviously, we went on and won at Cardiff at the weekend. But it just shows how things can turn around really quickly in the Championship, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's easy for us fans to say they're an easy 3-pointer there, but the full credit has got to go to this playing squad and the coaching staff. Warnock's turned it round during the international break, and it just shows how tight the league is, doesn't it? And now we not sit comfortably, but we're in sixth position, looking up the league rather than down. If I think we're talking 5 points off second and third as well, which it just shows how strange the league is. If you get a bit of consistency going, and drop the odd point here and there, there's no reason why we can't maintain that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We on paper, we thought they were easy opponents. You've still got to go out there and win them. But for me, what's going to be interesting is the change of the dynamic when you get your ballers, your Dijksteel back, because I don't believe in changing winning teams. So when these players come back, I don't think you should be bringing them back in. Yeah, I know they do make the team stronger, but they could upset the dynamic of the team as well at the same time.
That's a tester. I've just read Davey Richo's comment there. You're right, Dave. I'm not being negative, Dave, but we're in a position now where we've seen it before. We had it under Pulis. We had it under Woodgate. I think it was in the January. Woodgate went 4 games unbeaten. Or just before COVID, he won Manager of the Month.
Road, didn't he? Yeah.
He won Manager of the Month. You know what I mean? So we've been here before. I think Warnock, you can say he's unlucky, but I think he's been really lucky with the injuries that we've had, because McNair, Howson, and Bamba, they're absolutely them 3 at the back have made us as solid as a rock, James, and that was forced on Warnock. He hasn't made that decision. Obviously, he's had to pick the team, but that's been forced on him. The likes of Crooks in the midfield, that little bit deeper. All these decisions, he hasn't made them. They've been forced decisions because of the injuries. And that's what's concerning me as well, like what Dave said. When all these players start coming back, your bowlers, your Dijksteels, what we're saying now is we're absolutely crap with Hall and Dale Fry at the middle of our defence.
Yeah.
As Boro fans, really, that's what we're saying. We need Warnock now to stick with these, 11, 12, 13 players, 14, if you count the young kid up front. He's got to stick with these kids now, these lads now, and hopefully they can see us through, till January and to see where we are.
Is that realistic, though, Tony? If you're saying you're going to get Sol Bamba and Lee Peltier playing week in, week out?
Well, he's already said that he's already said he didn't expect to play him once, and now you've got Sol Bamba playing 3 games in a week, being absolutely outstanding. If he's got the protection around him, I don't see why he can't play every week, James. You know what I mean? He can marshal that defence.
Whilst we're winning, Guesty, the likes of Bamba and that will want to play every week as well, won't they?
Yeah, and Peltier, you know what I mean? They're all up for it. The lads who he's picking are all up for it. I'm not being negative, Dave. I'm just, being apprehensive. I think he's been very lucky at the moment because, like you say, after the Hull game, anything bad against Peterborough and we'd all be singing a different tune. But fortunately, we've scored 6 goals and best of all, we've conceded none. And really, it could have been a lot better, but, we haven't got the shooting boots on. They don't know what them white sticks are for yet. But I think they're all walking with white sticks, half of them. But you know what I mean?
I think there's something to be said about this fluid 4-4-2. I'm going to start calling him Neil Guardiola if it works for much longer, because it's not an orthodox 4-4-2 that we were talking about that the other day. It seems like sometimes Howson or Pelt steps across, forms a 3, and then Tav and Hernandez start operating as wing backs. But then at other times, it looks like you've just got the 2 centre backs. You've also got some man marking that's been chucked in there. So at times it looks like there's not just 2 in midfield because one of them steps out. And I think there's a fluidity to it that I don't actually know. I'd love to ask him, like, what have you told him? What's going on? Because
you've got McNair. You've got McNair popping up on the left wing. You've got McNair popping up on the right wing, and you know what I mean.
Pushing on, you've got all sorts, haven't you?
For me, that's all because you've got Bamba there, the Rock, and them lads. They're encouraged, like you say, to be fluid, Jacob.
Yeah.
Sheffield United got promoted on that formation, didn't they? They were wing backs, but then switched to a 4-4-2 with their centre half splitting, and that's exactly what we're doing. So when you're saying you see Tavernier drop back, he's dropping into a 5, and that's what Sheffield United did.
Yeah. Before we move on from that Barnsley game, sorry, last thing I was going to say, well, it's more about the Peterborough and the Cardiff games. Joe Scott's got in touch. Hope you're well, Joe. And he's just said about the fixture list after the international break and being kind to us. But how many times over the years have we seen Boro come up against teams who you expect to win, let alone in 1 week where you're playing 3 games in 7 days? I think there was only ourselves and it maybe in Bournemouth that won all 3 matches in the 7 days. So that on its own is not an easy thing to do, but it's typical Boro to blow it in those sort of games. So it's been some achievement to get 9 points out the last 9, hasn't it?
It's one of the 10 commandments of being a Boro fan, you know what I mean? It's Boro shall not beat anyone in the bottom 3 and only the top 3, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was disappointing against Hull. It was disappointing against Reading when, you know, the writing was on the wall for both them clubs. But, you know, we've managed to put a Odo to bed by taking on 3 teams out of the bottom 4 and taking maximum points. And like you say, you've got to be happy with it. But, you know, I just don't want to get caught up in the promotion chat and top 6 chat. When you look at what's in the top 6 at the moment, you've got us. I think last time I looked, it was Coventry and Luton up there with us. You know what I mean? And we're on 21 points along with another 2 teams. Yeah, it's great to have 21 points, but we've got to build on it, and we can't have another false dawn, because I don't want to go there. I don't want to be, you know, pissing on anyone's bommy tonight. I just want us to enjoy it.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Well, Jacob, I'll bring you in first on this one, the Cardiff game at the weekend. Boro made the long journey down to South Wales to take on then Mick McCarthy's beleaguered Bluebirds. One-sided first half again, pretty much like the Barnsley match. Again, the only criticism, though, not so much the missed chances, but some of the decision-making in the final third. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. Definitely. I think it's been the same over the past few games, considering the shots that we've had. One thing I was really impressed with from that game is that 10 minutes of resilience. We rode Lady Luck a little bit there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Let's be fair, that 10 minutes. But they are not having a good time at the moment, Cardiff. But you're not thinking about that when Kai Famu is challenging in the air. If you're Sol Bamba, the man's massive. And at the end of the day, Paddy McNair and Sol Bamba did so well in that game. I thought that even though they're not playing well, they're no mugs, Cardiff. Like, no. They're a gruesome lot up top as well. And I thought that's the type of match where I thought this might be a sticking block for us because of the physicality of them, etc. So I was impressed. Yeah, I was, apart from that 10 minutes. But again, you're going to have that. You're not going to get through a match where you batter a team for 90 minutes. But I would say, even if I was an unbiased non-fan, we absolutely mauled them other than that 10 minutes. Yeah. Chance after chance, we were battering them pretty much all over the pitch. So, I mean, and Piero, for me, that was his best game, even defensively, winning his duels, headers. Neil Warnock was talking about winning his headers, his deft little touches. For me, he was brilliant, fantastic. And obviously, he capped it with that goal. So, really pleased about the Cardiff game. And, let's see if we can take it to Birmingham, eh?
Yeah, definitely, mate. David Bentley's just got back in touch with us there. Hope you're well, Dave. He said, spot on, Tony. Warnock's been looking, they had no choice, and it looks like the team have got a great spirit, which is down to him. Just hope he allows this team to go on even when the players that are injured return. Just don't change a winning team while it's working. David, back to the Cardiff game, though. And in fairness, credit to the manager and the players. As Jacob said, it was going to be a difficult game, but they never allowed Cardiff to bring their fans into that game. We started off on the front foot and we kept it going that way, didn't we?
Yeah, Warnock obviously knows what their fans are about as well. He knows the situation they're in. He's no mug when it comes to stuff like that. So he just said, put them on the back foot. And to be honest with you, I thought Uche deserves a lot of credit. I know there was a lot of people saying his final decision making was poor, but he quietened their fans. He was putting himself about. He was a handful, and he was bringing other players into play. There was a few times where he could have squared it before trying to wind up a shot himself. But you need players like that in away games where it's going to be a battle. Aidan Flint, who we all know is good in the air, didn't win an aerial duel against him all game.
I was just going to say, David, Ikpeazu, he's not probably going to be the most prolific of strikers, but he brings something to our side that we've not had for years, and you definitely need that in the Championship. And like you say, in games like that on Saturday when you're up against two really big centre-halves, he played a massive part in us winning that game, didn't he?
Yeah, he turns the home fans, their views as well. I heard quite a few of the fans who've been to the game saying that their fans had really responded to him putting himself about, and they were giving him a bit of stick. Well, that only can work in our favour. If he's taking that pressure off the rest of the lads, by doing that job. So it's not just what he does on the pitch, it's what he does in terms of the atmosphere around the ground. Yeah. And if he could get his decision making right in the final third, I think him and Spore are going to have a good partnership.
Yeah. And Tony, talking about Uchi's strike partner at the weekend, Spore. I mean, he was at the centre of two of the biggest talking points in that first half. First of all, the challenge on him by Marlon Pack. Did you think that should have been a red card?
Yeah, like you say, James, it was a red card. Really surprised the referee. What was the kid's name? He was fortunate. He made a challenge also in the second half, didn't he, on someone? And like you said, people said it wasn't a penalty. It was a penalty. The referees in the Championship. I think it was the Barnsley game where we had. Is it Madley, the Premiership referee?
Yeah.
And the standard of refereeing that night, it was absolutely amazing. You know what I mean? You didn't even know he was there. And then you go to Saturday, and for me, it was a penalty. I felt that effort was going in, and he had his arm away from his body, and it hit his arm.
Yeah.
But the sending off, he got that was a definite sending off. But that's what you come to expect in the Championship, James. And the following week, he might do something not half as bad and get his marching orders. But like you say, Spore again with a penalty, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah. I'm someone who agrees with me, Guesty, about that being a penalty. I thought it was a stone wall because the ball had a while to travel. He could have got out the way, and his arm was. He was leaning back. His hand was out, and it wasn't as if it had come from a short distance. It had come from 15 yards.
Like you say, when you not going and watching it, and Don Goodman, some of the shite he comes out with when he's watching the Boro, it's unbelievable, man. He felt it wasn't a sending off. He felt it wasn't a penalty. I wait, Don, man. It was a penalty all day long. Absolute joke, that man. You know what I mean? But like you say, on Uchi, he was absolutely immense on Saturday. The battling, the scrapping, the fighting. Yeah, he looked like a red card waiting to happen coming towards half time. But when he sorted himself out and the way he dominated them in the second half, and the 10 and the pass across the goal for Piero's goal was, I thought, where did he get that 10 from? You know what I mean? It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I think this is the first time this season where the three, Watmore, Spore, and Uchi, they look confident. Although Watmore, fair play, he's had a couple of dodgy misses, but they look like they're up for it. Spore is going to be well up for that now, isn't he?
We're on about decision makers there, Jacob. Do you think Warnock's told him to be more selfish in front of goal? And maybe that's where the decision making's looking a bit bad at the moment?
Honestly, mate, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but what I would say is I think that'll click. I think it will click. You can only create so many. I think they've all got it in him. I think Uch might not have the best scoring record ever, but he can use both feet and he can hit a ball. Watmore, he was our top scorer last season. Spore, we know he can do it. Yeah, maybe not proven at this level, but we've got proof at other levels. So, yeah, I think that'll eventually click. I'm not sure what he said, but I'm trying to be like glass half full in terms of chance creation. And I think eventually with these forwards they'll start to bang a few more in. And by the way, I just want to say hello to my son because I can see he said hello, Dad, on the on YouTube.
No worries, mate. I know we had a chat yesterday. I think Jacob and David, we were talking about the strikers and Spore, Watmore and Uche. David, do you see a partnership emerging that'll be the first choice partnership, or do you think it'll be a chop and change system that Warnock will go with?
I think depending on the opposition, I think he'll chop and change. if you're going to play against aerial duels like Aidan Flint, I think he'll go with Uche. And I think at home, when you're trying to put teams on the back foot, I think he'll go with Watmore. But for me, I think he needs to stay with two, because I think if you want consistency of goals and creation and partnerships forging, you're going to have to stay with the two. And for me, I can see what Jacob and that was saying about Watmore, and I agree. But for me, I like the look of Uche and Spora. I think little and large their games could rub off on each other, and I think it's a little bit more suited than it is against Watmore and Spora. I think they're two a little bit similar, making the same runs.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys agree. I just think those two, you know.
Like they seem to have a good partnership. Well, he has a good partnership with Uche on Saturday, and he had a good partnership with Watmore on Wednesday. So that's a problem for Warnock to sort out. Yeah, I'd rather see a settled pair. But like you say, if he's going to come up against some big dirty centre half, he's going to go with Uche. You know what I mean, Dave?
Yeah.
And I just think it's if you want to stretch the players well. I think if you wanted to do that, you're probably going to do that with Watmore and Spora. I just think Uche will be the one for you're up against, like you say, strapping centre halves, possibly away from home. I think he might be a better bet, possibly the
even Coburn when he came on against Cardiff. I thought he looked nice as well. I know it was only the game was dead and what have you, but it was a 10-minute cameo where I thought he came out and did well.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave Clemson said it's just nice to see a Boro manager actually play two up top. And we mentioned Uche, we mentioned Spora, Jacob, but also Uche played a massive role in that second goal, Martin Payero. And aside from his tidy finish, what did you make of the Argentinians' display?
Brilliant. As I said earlier, that's his best display in a Boro top by an absolute country mile. He won his aerial duels, 50-50s, he got his goal. He also brings an element of coolness to his passing game. Warnock said he does the easy pass, but footy, you watch him on the ball and he picks the right pass. He's overhit a couple, but he picks the right pass. There's a coolness to his game. I think brushing up on leaving space in certain areas in behind him, but maybe that could be because of this new change in formation. I don't know, but I'm liking the fact that he's improving each game. So yeah. I tried to put a fire out the other day when people were saying, "Oh, he's the best. It's amazing. He's finally landed." I'm like, calm down a bit. However, that display against Cardiff for me was as complete as I've seen him play. And now I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can carry that through to Birmingham. So yeah, all in all, I've been impressed with him over the last 3 games. There was Peterborough first half, not so much second half. Yeah, Barnsley, I thought he left too many gaps in behind, but again, he showed flashes of his brilliance. He skinned a couple of people in the corner flag, but then he came on at Cardiff and thought, right, I'll put them both together, and here I am. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it against Birmingham.
Yeah. And I don't think Dave Clements is not wrong. Yeah, sorry, Dave. I'll bring you back in. Just said there that Payero's partners moved over in, and that will play a large part in him feeling more settled, and obviously that'll then translate onto his performances on the pitch as well, won't it, David?
It will, and a settled partnership in midfield will also, with Cook playing, and it's funny because we mentioned Hernandez is talking him through games with the Spanish as well. And I just think all those things together will help him feel settled a little bit more. But I agree with everything that Jacob said. I think offensively, haven't got a problem with it. He likes to roam. Defensively, I think he's got to be a little bit more disciplined, especially when you're playing the bigger teams. Let's not forget the opposition he's played against this week. When you're playing the likes of Fulham and stuff, it'd be interesting to see how he adapts them type of games.
Fair point. And Tony, going back to the Cardiff game again, it was a great return to the Principality, not just for Warnock, but also for Sol Bamba and Lee Peltier. Well, fair play and credit to the Cardiff fans who stayed behind after the game, put their disappointment to one side, and gave each of those a great reception, didn't they?
Yeah, it was good to see, to tell you the truth, because it was going on through the 90 minutes, you know what I mean? You had Bamba giving it the old, and Peltier at throw-ins, giving him the odd wave here and there. Yeah, it was good to see. And like you say, they were absolutely fantastic for Cardiff. They got them up into the Premier League. So we do the same to players that come back to our club who managed to get us out of this frigging godforsaken league. You know what I mean? So yeah, but it was good to see. And it just shows that there is still a lot of respect in and around ex-managers and ex-players.
Yeah. And Jacob, I asked at the top of the show, what's brought this change in Borough's fortune? Bearing in mind, it's little over 3 weeks ago that we had the defeat at Hull, and it was all doom and gloom, and people were probably looking over the shoulders at the bottom three rather than up at the top of the table. What for you has just brought this turnaround? Has it been luck simply by the injuries and the formation we've stumbled on, or has it been more than that?
Mixture. I probably agree with Guesty. His hand's been forced, but you still got to deal with what you've got. And I think he's found a formation that's not an orthodox 4-4-2. It's a bit different. So I think you have to give him his credit there. And the next few games will tell. It's only been 3 games. Like it's not. Well, we got 4 wins out of 5, haven't we? But let's see what happens over the next few games. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm going to be honest. I was starting to say Warnock out. I didn't actually. Dave will know. I didn't fully say it, but I was saying, look, I'm turning.
You'll be doing with that.
And I'll put my hands up. Dave was saying it, and Guesty, if anyone wants to have a go at them. But I was turning. But even now, the whole picture, I'm like, let's just come on. We're Boro fans. We get it. Like sometimes these things happen, and then we drop off again. I don't want to be overly, enthused. Well, I like to be enthusiastic, but let's just stay realistic. And let's look over the next couple of games. There's been a lot of improvement that we're all clearly happy with. A lot of improvement. There's been an improvement in individual players, in group connectivity. So, long may it continue. But let's just
back-to-back defeats against Luton and West Brom, and those fans will be back out in force with Garden Warner.
I'll be picketing outside the Riverside. Get him out.
And I think
Guesty was right. Guesty was right.
And joke aside, lads, I think that's the point, and I think we've touched on it before. I think you will always get fans who are a little bit extreme, and at the first sign of a defeat will want everything changing and throw it out. But I think at that whole game, and even the weeks leading up to that, it wasn't just your knee-jerk reaction fans. I think it was probably your next level of fans that are normally quite reflective on things. And as we've said before on the show, taking into account everything that's happened since January, and people are looking at the bigger picture, not just the start of this season or the last month. And I think those fans, everybody, don't get me wrong, everyone's delighted with what's happened in the last 3 games. We all are. We all want the team to win. But one swallow doesn't make a summer. And this has got to continue. We've got to be up. At the end of the day, we expected an improvement on last season, which was 10th. We are improving at the moment, but there's still a long, long way to go. So
3 points gloss over all the problems, doesn't it?
No.
You're right what you said, saying, James. Like you say, the whole game, before the whole game, people were looking back from January, counting the games on. But now, like Jacob's just said there now, we are looking forward. It's 4 wins out of 5, and things are looking quite good at the moment, Yeah. But let's not just get, let's not overhype this. Let's just...
None of us are going to say, oh, we were wrong and what, we all want Warnock to stay, because we've all got our views, and a few wins ain't going to change that.
No, I've still got my views on him, and I still think he's just a dodgy old granddad who's, talking shit every week. But he's fell in lucky with the players that he's got left to pick, and he's managed to pick a decent formation. But like you say, let's see where we are in January, and I just hope that we're still pushing on.
Yeah.
Okay, boys. Well, Birmingham City it is at the weekend, and we've talked about former players going back to Cardiff at the weekend. There's a couple of ex-Boro players that'll be in the Riverside at the weekend in Lucas Jukovic and George Friend. And both players, Tony, but particularly George, should be expecting a great reception, shouldn't they?
Yeah, he's got to, you know what I mean. The service he gave, I remember when he came from Doncaster, and I think the first time I seen him, I thought, well, why have Doncaster let this kid go? Because his work rate and his commitment down that left-hand side was, one of the best we'd seen for a while. You know what I mean? And the service he gave our club, and, he made that chop inside,
Trademark.
There was 20,000 people in that stadium every week knew what he was going to do, but that defender who was marking him that day didn't. You know what I mean? He can never have ever watched George. You know what I mean? He can't have done his own work, and that was every home game. But he was a great servant to the club, and I always remember. I think it was the same game Traore scored his first goal away at QPR.
Yeah.
And George smacked this ball in, and it ended up in the corner flag. And I'm sat up in the stand at Loftus Road, and I'm thinking, George, don't do that again. Don't. And within seconds, the ball ended up at his feet, and he smashed his left foot shot into the top corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was, like you say, a great bloke and a great servant to our club, and he deserves a really good. He deserves a really good hand off the Boro fans when he comes back on Saturday.
Yeah. Robbie, the Blues fan's been in touch again. He said Friend's been class when he's been asked to start at centre back this year. And in fairness, Jacob, pound for pound in recent years, he's probably been one of our best signings in terms of what we paid and the value we got from him, wasn't he?
George Friend, man. I think a tear will come in my eye when he comes back. Sorry, Robbie, but he's still a Red. Like, he even put something on Instagram the other day where he had a Boro top on and he was saying happy birthday to someone. But in all fairness, yeah, I agree with what he says. I think as he's got older, moving him into centre-back has helped because he hasn't got the legs that he used to, but he's an absolute maverick, I thought, at centre-back at times. Like, he wins everything in the air, gives 150%, brilliant for the local area. I can't speak highly enough, but I'd agree. I think he's up there with probably the top 3 of our best signings in the last decade, for sure. And I'm glad that he's still doing it for Birmingham because he's such a lovely fella. Like, I'm not happy when Patrick Bamford scores for Leeds, put it that way. I am happy when he puts the shift in for Birmingham because it's our George Friend.
David, apart from Jukovic and Friend, where else do you see maybe the threats coming from Birmingham at the weekend?
Troy Deeney's going to be a handful, isn't he? It'd be interesting. Saul Bamba will have his hands full against Troy Deeney. He usually scores against the Boro, so yeah, there'll be a danger. But again, if we just quieten their away support early doors and go on the front foot from the beginning, I don't see why not. And they've got a lad called, I think, is it Chong from Man United?
On loan from Man U, yeah.
Yeah, every time I've seen him this season, he's so direct.
Yeah.
And we've talked on the show quite a few times this season. Any player who attacks us through the middle, we seem to crumble. So that'd be interesting to see how Cooks and Piero come up against him.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key battle area at the weekend. And Jacob, I mean, as David mentioned there about the fans, I think the Boro fans have been very supportive in the games and patient at the Riverside this season. And the stats point with being quite a tight game at the weekend. I think Birmingham so far have scored 7, conceded 7 from 7 away games. So it promises to be quite a tight encounter at the weekend, doesn't it?
Depends if C Senor's on song. He might rock it the 30-yarders in. But yeah, I think does that fella Scott Hogan still play for Birmingham? He's bagged about 3 or 4 goals on it. For me, he's decent. I quite like him, and I think Deeney's going to be a nightmare. I'm not sure what formation they play, to be honest, but I wouldn't like to play against Deeney. Scott Hogan, he's got a strike on him. Sometimes the league doesn't flatter. I haven't watched Birmingham in and out this season, so I can't comment too much on how I think Birmingham are playing. But based on statistics, looking at, for example, they haven't scored many, but they haven't conceded loads either, I don't think. They've not got the rockiest defence ever, but they certainly haven't scored many. But I'd have to say, even looking from an unbiased perspective, the ascendancy's in Boro's hands. For me, it's Middlesbrough's game to win, really. With the way that we've been playing, with how we've been attacking. Like, look at the last 3 games, our average, we've shot 20 times on goal, and we could have scored a lot more. So for me, with the way things are clicking, I think it's in our hands to be the progressive team and put it on them from the start. But then it's for Birmingham to be able to stifle that and cause problems. And I think what Dave said, anybody who's been direct for some reason, and I don't know why, it's like Moses parting the sea. They go like that, don't they? And they blast straight through the middle, and I think that can cause us problems at times. So we need to be wary of that. But yeah.
And Tony, do you think that's a bit of a worry in the way that everyone's saying, "Oh, Steve Walker's done his prediction there, another 2-0 win"? The some fans are going to just rock up on Saturday and think, you know what, another 2-0 win, we're going to win again. Doesn't work as simple as that, does it?
No, they'll put a few more bums on seats. You know what I mean? On Saturday, you'll get a few. You get a few stragglers coming along now with a bit of form, and it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Even when you're playing for Liverpool, Man City, you know they've got to work hard week in, week out to get the results they get, and that's what we've got to start and do. But like you say, you've got Birmingham coming, hard-working team. You've got the Duke up front. You've got Deeney up front. So it's up to Warnock now and his lads, to stifle the ball, getting to these type of players. You know what I mean, James? And like what Jacob and Dave saying, at the moment, going forward, our midfield and what we've got up front, it's good to watch. But we've got to get the defensive part right. And like you say, that Chong, he does look impressive, but he's a loney. And for me, at times, he flatters to deceives. And it happened in the Cardiff game where we were under the cosh a bit. But Cardiff seemed hell-bent going down the sides. The problem we have, like your lads have been saying, is through the middle. So hopefully we can get that cut out on Saturday and move on. Like you say, the way things are at the moment, a scrappy 1-0 win just to keep momentum going. It absolutely... That would do me at the moment, you know what I mean? Just to keep this momentum going. So Birmingham's never easy. Never, ever easy.
Yeah, I know they were on a bad run when they came here. Sorry, David. Go on.
Sorry, I've just seen a comment what my dad has put about Squara, and I know we haven't really touched upon him this on the show, but I think he's been an absolute fantastic signing. With the way he splits the defence with his runs, if we could just get that final ball right through the middle, he could score a lot of goals for us because he's always playing on the edge. I haven't seen a striker for us for a long time. Bamford did it, but apart from Bamford, I ain't seen it in a long time in a Boro shirt where we've got such a direct striker who's always looking to get in between the two centre-halves.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, Robbie, Birmingham City fan, he's been in touch again and he's edging his bets a bit. He's first of all said 1-1, then it could go 2-1 either way. So with that in mind, lads, what are our predictions for the game at the weekend? Coming to you first, David.
Is that David or me?
No, you, David.
No.
Oh, sorry. I think 1-0. I think it's good. Like we touched upon, it's going to be a battle with the likes of Duke and Troy Deeney and Friend. There's a lot of physicality throughout both sides. So I think it's going to be a very tough game, and I reckon 1-0.
1-0. Steve Walker's gone 2. Dan Shaw's gone 3-0 Boro this time. Jacob, how about yourself?
Well, they've just come off the back of a win, 2-1. They beat Swansea, so they're going to be confident. I think I'd go 2-1 Boro.
2-1 Boro.
Yeah.
2-1 Boro. Tori, do you see this run stretching to 4 successive victories on Saturday?
I hope so. You know what I mean? I really, keep a lot of people happy on the old Facebook and the fan pages and that. I might even bring a smile to my face the way some of these people are talking about me. Like you say, I can't see no one. While Bamba's playing the way he is and Joe Lumley's brother in goal, I can't see no one breaching us. So I'm gonna go 2-0 Boro on Saturday.
2-0. Blimey, next that'll be 12 points out of 12. That'll be some run that to continue. Well,
what about you, James? What do you reckon?
What about me? This sounds awful. I can see it being a draw on Saturday.
Jesus.
Well, I just think last year they came here and they were on a god-awful run and they beat us 1-0. Scott Hogan, your mate there, Jacob, he scored the goal. And I just think they're a side that always proved to be quite difficult. And I just think it'll be a tough game. And I really hope I'm wrong. I hope the run continues. But I just think it's going to be a really tough game Saturday. So I'm steeling myself and maybe it being a draw, not the full 3 points. But fingers crossed it won't be the first time I'm wrong, and I hope I am, mate.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, Michael Pelling's gone 2-0.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry, Jacob, didn't quite catch that. What you say, mate?
I think I lagged a bit. I said I'd be happy. I would be happy with a draw and a good performance. I mean, out of 4 games, out of 6 games, we've lost 1. I wouldn't be too turn my nose up at that. If it was even a 0-0 and a really good defensive performance, and maybe we missed a couple of chances, I don't know, or a 1-1, something like that, I wouldn't turn my nose up. If it's a good performance, you don't want it to be too shabby because you walk away feeling a bit dejected. But don't think that would be the worst, especially with a come off a win.
Yeah, it keeps you ticking over, doesn't it? When a result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you say, if we
Michael
still
Pellin
beat,
said I need to take some of your medication.
no, you don't want none of that, James. Like you say, if it keeps, as long as it's not a defeat and it just keeps momentum going in the right direction, you know what I mean? So, but like you say, Birmingham City is always quite tough, no matter what league or whenever we've played them. They've always been a bit challenging when they've come up here.
Yeah. Well, all will be revealed. We'll be back in our usual time slot next week, Boro fans. That's your lot for this week's show. So, as I say, we'll be back next Monday at 7 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your contributions to the show, as always. Really appreciate it. Make sure you join us next Monday. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Boro Fan TV. My thanks also go to Tony, Jacob, and David for joining me at this unusual time on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks again, boys.
No pleasure.
Cheers.
No, yeah, love it, James. Thanks.
And everybody out there, have a good week. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully, we'll see you at the Riverside on Saturday. And until then, good night and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Cheers, boys. Thank you very much.
Cheers, lad.
Thought it was a good one, that, mate.